Hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone. So before we start, next weekend, next Sunday, October 29th, we're going to have another fraternal gathering alongside with a fundraising. So we're going to have some Mexican lunch. So enjoy some tacos and some, in addition to food, it's an opportunity for us to get together, talk, reflect, and just enjoy each other's company. So the way it works, we are going to have our talk regularly at 11, and then as we finish at noon, we will transform the space here with some tables and put the food out there. And at 12:30, we start enjoying it. So I invite everyone to join us next Sunday, October 29th. If you would like to just confirm that you will be able to join us so we can prepare food amount and all the other things. You can let through our WhatsApp channel, or you can talk to Carol as well. All right. So to start, I would like to read from the Living Spring. The text number is 144, and the title is Let Us Assess the Mental Life. And the passage that Emmanuel reflects is, and he was followed by a large crowd from Galilee, the Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and from beyond the Jordan. That's a passage from Matthew chapter 4, versicle 25. The multitudes continue to follow Jesus in the hopes of meeting him, and they use all the means within their reach to do so. They come from everywhere, eager for comfort and revelation. The interference of all who try to stand between the multitude and the Lord is futile because, century after century, the search and hope have intensified. Therefore, in our condition as disciples, let us remember that any assistance we may be able to lend to people will always be blessed. One does not have to be a statesperson or an administrator to assist them in order to grow spiritually. Goodwill and cooperation are the two master columns in the edifice of human fraternity, and contributing so that society may learn to think about spreading the good means, cooperating so that the earthly mind may be put in harmony with the divine mind. An invaluable plan has been revealed to us in this regard: education. Spiritually constructive reading, instructive lectures, a contagious example in the practice of simple goodness, the dissemination of consoling and instructive books, the practice of meditation. May our primary endeavor be the awakening of inner personal qualities. Let us help others do all they can to improve social progress in their own sphere and activity. To guide the thought, to enlighten and sublimate, it is to guarantee the redemption of the world, unveiling rich new horizons for ourselves. Let us assist the mental life of the multitude, and we will all meet Jesus more easily for the victory of life eternal. So let us pray. So connected that we are with these beautiful words of Emmanuel, highlighting the importance of our will to work with fraternity and cooperation. Let's raise our thoughts to God, our Father, to Jesus, our Master, to each one of our guardian angels, and the entire spiritual team, the spiritual group that helps our second home of love. And first, as our Master taught us, express our sincere gratitude. Gratitude for waking up one more day, one more Sunday morning. Gratitude for this opportunity of life, for us to learn and grow as an immortal spirit. Gratitude for this second home of love that helps each one of us in our journey. Let us ask that the spiritual team guide us in the reflections, and we may have another blessed meeting full of good reflection, full of good thoughts, full of serenity and peace. So be it. All right. Thank you, Marcus, for DJing. Okay. So today we are going to talk about thought and life, and what are some of the thoughts that we have been cultivating in our day-to-day life. So this lecture is based, and most of you might know, because sometimes I sound like a broken record. This is one of my favorite book called Thought and Life, Pensamento e Vida, in Portuguese. It's such a simple, thin book, but it's full of great instructions, full of important knowledge. And I want to give you, as I progress with the reflections, just to give you a little bit of history. When and why was this book written by Chico Xavier through our beloved Emmanuel? As we go through it, I'm going to use two authors or speakers. One is Arthur Valadares, that talks about thought and life, and another one is Haroldo Dutra Dias in a lecture or in a talk that he has called Our Thought Creates the Kind of Life We Lead. And the objective for today is just to use this book. It shines some light of in understanding the importance of our thought. And we are going to expand what do we mean by thought? What is included in the definition as we explore this about thought? And how is the relationship of thought and our journey of evolution? And also, why would Emmanuel create the title of the book, Thought and Life? So even with the title, there is a strong correlation of the importance of our thinking and our emotions, and as we progress, all the things that we produce inside. And even though I'm going to, throughout the talk, I'm going to point here in my mind, but we know that the thought is not here on my mind, is in our spirit, but it's just it's easier for me just to point here. But we know that our thought starts in our mortal spirit. Just to give a little bit of history or background in this book. This book was, at some points, Chico and Emmanuel and the spirits were like, how can we write something that's easy, that is simple, and that can give some guidance for the incarnated to be more prepared, let's say, to endeavor and to go through our evolution. So what happens that when we prepare to incarnate, there is some work that the spiritual team help us. Like, yeah, Luis, let's start your reincarnation program. So there is some preparation. And this book is kind of a playbook. When we incarnate, it's kind of a playbook that we go through. Let's imagine, we don't have the words, but let's imagine some lectures and some workshops. And this book is similar to the workshops that we go to prepare ourselves to incarnate. It's very interesting, even though it's super thin, but just the structure of the book is very solid, because if you start, and we're going to talk a little bit about chapter 1. Chapter 1 starts with our mind and what's the importance of our mind and our thought. And then it goes through a lot of more of our duties, our rights, and everything that we need to think about when we are working, when we are as a member of our family. It goes more into the tangible, day-to-day material life and how that material life is guided and how we are advised to react thinking spiritually, not only as this body incarnated. So it goes all about that, our duties, our will, cooperation, fraternity, being a son. And then the last chapter ends with love. Because love is the ultimate, let's say, medicine for everything that we face here on earth. And Emmanuel highlights that importance. So I would like to invite you, because it has been, even though I picked one chapter and other, but it's such a beautiful and easy reading and direct to the point for us to kind of develop and do the work in our inner kingdom, to be prepared and to be strong as we can be in this incarnation, to do the work that is required for us to become better. So I would like to start a little bit just with the introduction and what Emmanuel talks about in the introduction. As I mentioned, we were asked by a dear friend on our spiritual plan whether we have a book that could be adapted to suit the needs of people on earth. And I voted a few pages, which is the book, that would speak to the spirit about problems of the spiritual nature. So as I mentioned, this book brings, not that I think we know in our minds, we know like intellectually that we are mortal spirits. There is an influence of spirits in our lives. There is a reason for us to be here. There is a reason for us to face all the challenges that we are facing. Maybe we don't know the reasons right now on this moment of reincarnation, but we know some of the reasons that might be from previous lives. But this book gives it highlights the importance in that perspective for us to think beyond this material existence, to think beyond what we are just facing on this earth, which the Gospel according to Spiritism describes as this hospital, describes as this prison, because this earth is a trial and expiation characteristic of world. But this is gives us that importance to recognize ourselves as an immortal spirit. And sometimes we forget about that, right? Sometimes we just get carried away, which is, it can be normal. We have so many things coming at us, so many responsibilities, so many things. But even though, if all those things are coming at us, and as those things come at us, it impacts the way we address our challenges and the way we think about our challenges. So it's important for us to take care of our mental health, to take care about our thoughts, to take care about our emotions. What I'm saying, if I say, oh, we need to take care, and if I'm facing this anger, if I'm facing things that maybe are not the best emotions or the best thoughts that we are invited to have, I'm not saying that we should never feel anger. We should never feel hatred. Those feelings are part of our evolution, and they need to be recognized, and they need to be transformed. What I'm saying here is not to say to shove it down, say, I'm not going to feel this. The importance is to be aware of what we are feeling, our emotions, so we can transform. And also, we can learn what are those emotions are telling us. What do we need to learn from that experience and for those emotions? Because there's a question, right, in the Spirit's book, question 459. Do spirits influence our thoughts and actions? Who remembers the answer? Yes. Sometimes they say they often direct both thoughts and actions. The influencer is greater than you think, and very frequently it is they who guide you. So the importance of us being aware, so we can own our thoughts and do not open the door so others can control our own thoughts. Because this is the reality. We are not alone. We have the incarnated and the disincarnated. And he continues in the introduction. The purpose, it is to inform you yet again that our thought process is a reflection of ourselves, which creates the kind of life we lead. Look how depth it is, how important it is, because Emmanuel is saying here that our thought process is the one that creates the life we lead. We have the entire control to create the life we want to create using our own thought process. It is this thought process that creates our actions. It is that creates our initiatives. It is that creates everything that we want to create. Everything that we created right now, where did it start it? First, in our thoughts. Arthur likes to mention that the creation of Earth, if we think about it, everything was created before in God's thought. Everything was there. And then God just materializes. And we, as we think about it, and I always like to use, as all of us or most of us here are immigrants. So the immigration process, where did it start it? In our thought. It's like, I want to live in Canada, right? Or I want to live abroad. So everything started here, and then we take all the steps and all the actions to make it happen. Until one day, through the millennium, we shall identify ourselves with the infinite wisdom and infinite love that constitutes the thought and life of our Father. Look at this. So Emmanuel is saying, hey, you incarnated immortal spirits, your thought create the life you lead. But it's like, but my thoughts are not the best ones at this point, which is okay. But then as we progress, as we evolve, we will learn, we will educate, and then our thought will be able to be better connected to whom? To the divine thought. To our Father that is pure good, that is pure love. And we can draw a connection to what the Spirits book says. When we study the evolution of spirits or the classification of spirits, we have 10 classes, 3 orders. Not all the spirits will be created and be perfect, right? We're all created simple and ignorant in terms of not knowing all the information, and then we will progress. And we know we have that, we are kind of that third order spirits that we are still imperfect, but we will keep going and we'll go to that second order that are good spirits until we get to that first order that are pure spirits. So we have this journey, and being aware of this journey, that we have those touch points or we have those opportunities to grow, and so we can connect to this infinite wisdom and love. And then when we get to that point, and we know that's the only thing that is certain in Spiritism. That's the only mention that the Spiritism said, all of you will get there, is to that relative perfection. Because only God is perfect. All of us will get to that pure spirit. That's the only thing that the Spirit says, this will, or we would like to say here in English, this will shall happen. So, thought. What are the way that I'm talking about thought, the way we're thinking, is about sentiment. It's about emotion. It's about all the ideas that we have within us. I'm not only talking about the rational, the things that, I'm good at math. I know how to do equations, or I know about economics. I'm not talking about that intellectual way of thinking. The way of talking about thought is about all the love, all the anger, all the jealousy, all the envy, all the good. It's all about that big skill, not skill, or one of the biggest attributes that we have as spiritists incarnated in this body as humans. And Joanna says that thought is one of the biggest existential equation that only us as humans have this capability. And if that is such a great attribute of all of this, all of us living in this earth, it's important that we take care of it. And Emmanuel kind of gives a little bit of equation, let's say, saying that mental reflexes set the stage for reaction of emotions. Our emotions or emotionalism creates our own ideas, and ideas determine attitudes in words that command our action. So that is another way to say when we thought about and then we materialize. The way that we thought about creates the framework, a word that we like to use here in English, creates the structure of the things that we are going to materialize, either by voicing or making actions. The way we voice our thoughts is just a package, right? But everything started here in our minds. And there is, even though we are talking about how important is that thought, it's also important to be careful, just to be aware when we materialize or we make our thoughts visible, because when we say it, we also carry a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy as we are communicating our thoughts and our words. Noticeable, exactly. And there, I can't remember in which book from André Luis, there's a whole course and a whole lecture for spirits on the importance of verbalizing their own thoughts and how the verbalization of those thoughts carry such important energy to the inner circle, whomever you were talking in that circle, and even beyond to the whole world. I was watching another lecture, and Gabi, I think you remember when you were talking about the importance of, or how, just to prepare ourselves to be not a conductor, not doutrinador. How do you say that in English? Oh, the person that clarifies when you're in a mediumistic meeting. The person that guides the spirit, the person that talks to the spirit. I cannot remember the word in English. And one of our dear friends, Afro, was saying, let's imagine when we are in a fight, or maybe there are two people fighting. Maybe one try to hurt each other, and that fight can be very aggressive using weapons or even with words. The energy that is created within that situation is extremely powerful. And there are spiritists that are in the absence of good, that can take all that energy that is produced from that interaction and create strong poisons that can be used not in a good way, right? So he was saying in a very more drastic fighting, using weapons. And even that is too drastic. Imagine ourselves when we are arguing. The amount of resources that we are giving to the spiritual world to manipulate and create things that are not so good for us. But if we flip that if we try to have an elevated, and if we connected ourselves with God, and we have a uplifting conversation, or we share good sentiments, we don't create poisons, but we create something that the spirituality can use for the good, can use for ourselves and for the ones that are required, that maybe there might be requiring some good medicine for them to heal.
And you don't need to be far away for a fight, but it's like when you gossip or you talking behind backs of someone else.
Yes.
And it's like and you have to ask yourself, like it's bringing some benefit for who? For myself, for the other one, the other ones, and it's like and it is the energy that you create around that.
Yeah, exactly. Why am I doing that? Why am I spending my energy and my efforts in that when I can spend my energy in something better or something different? So here's to call our attention. What is the framework? What is the mental atmosphere that we would like to create? Starting with our thoughts, our emotions, and then as we start making those thoughts and emotions live and tangible, what is the envelope? What is the color that I'm giving to my thoughts as I make that visible? And again, everything starts, and as we know, everything starts within us. So the Gospel according to Spiritism have this passage, which is some of the cornerstones for in the Gospel according to Spiritism. That says, Spiritists, love one another. That is the first precept. Educate yourself is the second. So here is one quote-unquote recipe, even though there's no list or checklist in the Spiritism that can guarantee your happiness in 7 days or 30 days or your money back. But here the Spiritist gives such a strong call about education. Because how do we then transform those thoughts? The thoughts that we're not, for example, those thoughts are good. Keep going it. But the thoughts that are, they're not giving you the results that I would like or not making me feel good. How do we transform them? How do we change?
Self-analysis.
Yeah.
I was going to say something about it.
Therapy?
Yeah, because, for example, the things that everything starts in our minds and we then put out in words. We have, since we're born, we create paths in our minds, in our heads, that we can continue doing life.
Yeah.
And sometimes those paths that we have in our minds, the way that we normally think about stuff is not the best way. So therapy is one of the ways to educate ourselves.
Exactly.
To change. So
therapy is one of the tactics. Yeah. What else can we do? If you understand that education is a key component of us to transform ourselves, what else can we do?
Come to the lecture every Sunday.
Come to the lecture?
I think so. We can see that Jesus' life.
Yes.
What Jesus did when he came here, So because he's the example for everybody, what the mission he had to come here to the earth. So if we see his life, we can imitate to him,
That's why he's our model
and
guide. Exactly.
Yeah. So some people, the boys, I think so, I don't know.
Yeah.
But some people, they don't know about Jesus, and another ones, they don't want to know about Jesus. And other ones, maybe they don't believe in Jesus. It's very challenge, right? Because people think different, right? And you know, the knowledge in general, the knowledge, it's very important to know, right? To study, read the Bible, you know.
It's the first step. Oops. Knowledge is the first step, because if we don't know what we need to change or are the things that we need to change, how we're going to change. Then, what's the second step?
Embrace your feelings. Don't judge.
Yeah, it's applying all of that, right? And I like to reread what I just read in our text here. An invaluable plan have been revealed to us in this regard. A valuable plan for us to be better. Education, spiritually constructive reading, thought and life. How many books do we have from Brazil and other mediums that can help us and has been clarifying or advancing the Spiritism doctrine? Instructive lectures, a contagious example in the practice of simple goodness. Maybe it's just a hi. Maybe it's just, how are you? Are you doing well? So those are some simple activities or things that we can do to take on that journey, because we know that one of the biggest challenges for us to grow as an immortal spirit is that emotional side. It's how we deal. It's how Luis deals with Luis first, and then how Luis, now understanding how Luis deals with himself, how he's better prepared to deal with or interact with my immediate circle, my family, as I expand with my family, and then within society. And are we having one of the biggest challenges of our own society is the issues that we're facing with depression, the issues that we're facing with anxiety. So that is examples how important it is for us to take care and to be mindful of the efforts that are required for us to take care of our emotional side, of our spirit, right?
I like to always say that we are not racing with each other, and it's like it's respecting your time, and don't put too much pressure to be the perfect. And it's like today I'm Gabriela, tomorrow I'll be Jesus, it's like you not happen in this way. Respect your time and respect you, and accept what you are learning. And you do like constantly, because you always will arrive in a different level if you do that. And if you put too much pressure, like you will get frustrated in the middle of the path.
Yeah, comparison. It's something I like. What Rosandro, if you know Rosandro, he is very keen on that. It always damages you. Comparing yourself is like, but look at person X, so together, and it seems that he has evolved already. Each one of us have our own path. Each one of us have our own strength. Each one of us have our own challenges that are fit for purpose. It's fit for purpose for Luis, for Gabi, for Marcos, and each one will take the journey that is the best for that person, right? And when we compare, we sometimes just see, we just see what we can see. It's just, we don't have the whole history of that other person, right? And only damages you. And another thing is, you waste effort just comparing. Oh, what could I do that God is doing? Maybe I'll do that. And then you forget to think about yourself and start looking. Let's see why Luis is feeling this, why Luis is not being able to do X, Y, and Z, right? It's about directing the effort. It's about being efficient. You're not efficient if you're just comparing to others. So, Danny's not here. That's exactly is. I talked about habits. Our thoughts are comprised about patterns. Patterns that we have been using for a very, very long time. There is a chapter, I think it's number 4, that talks about habit. And Luis, when facing situation X, I have a mental path that has been always the way that I have been solving that challenge. Yeah. Sometimes it's good. It gives me what I want or what I think is good for my immortal spirit. But sometimes not. Right? Sometimes I go, I might lose patience, or I might get angry because it's just the way I have been doing for my past experience. So it's important for us to identify which patterns are kind of working and which patterns I need to educate. I need to see there's gotta be a different way to go through that challenge that can give me a better sense of accomplishment, let's say. Because those patterns form our thought, form our emotions. So here, this big invitation of self-awareness and dig deeper within ourselves and doing a list of patterns that work and of patterns that need to be better educated. But without forgetting, the Spirit in the previous one, love one another and also love yourself. It starts, if we find a pattern that is not the one that we think, we are invited to self-welcome that pattern and say, yeah, okay, Luis, that anger or that frustration, whatever you have, let's come here. Let's talk. Let's see what is that is not making you happy, or what is that is causing that. It's not to shove it or kick it out. It said this is not. This is part of Luis. That's one of the reasons that we decided to incarnate to become better. Haroldo mentions that there is those patterns, as Gabi just mentioned. It's not that something that I have a goal. I'm going to change pattern A in the next 2 years, pattern B the next 5, and pattern C in the next 10. It's not like that. Some patterns are so ingrained that takes a longer time to be to fully transform. That's why we have the law of reincarnation. So we can have multiple opportunities so we can change that. But Haroldo said, as we embark in this incarnation, there are kind of 2 elements that need to go together. First is resignation, and second is initiative. There's a whole chapter in the Gospel According to Spiritism about obedience and resignation. Haroldo picks one that is resignation, because resignation is for us. Resignation corresponds to the consent of our own heart. It's that feeling that gives us the opportunity. Yes, Luis, this is something that needs to be worked. Initiative is, okay, now Luis, you understand that. Now you gotta take some action. If you take one of the elements of this equation, so just resignation. Oh, poor Luis. Yeah, it's so hard, right? Yeah, this is something that's coming from such a long time. Maybe there's nothing to do here, or it will take forever. And we can kind of procrastinate our evolution. Maybe the next 2 or the next one, right? You don't have the initiative. We don't have the action. We don't have that, okay, what can I do to change? Maybe I won't be able to change entirely, but maybe I can do 20%, 30%. If we take just initiative and we forget, it's like, yeah, Luis, How dare you again? You need to change this. How you know that this is not right. You just change, and you force it. You don't understand that that is part of me. It's myself being loving with myself. That is one part of me that needs to be taken. I'm too much into action. I'm being too rationalized. You know this. You read this in the books. Now you change. And then you can't change it again. I was like, darn you, Luis, don't you know? And then you go in that vicious cycle that is always punitive, right? And we know that God is not punitive. God is pure love. And God will not give Luis something that Luis is not capable of doing. God does not try me or like trick me. It's like, Luis, this incarnation, I'm going to trick you and see if you're going to be able to do that. No. And do we need to prove anything to God? No. Not that we need to prove ourselves, but we have a responsibility with our own conscience that there is that piece there that needs to be worked. And I really like those two elements that Haroldo brings because gives the full kind of, I'm again myself trying to rationalize, but gives like the full picture of how important for us to, in our heart, accept and then take initiative. And when I take one of the elements of the equation, I can see how unbalanced it becomes. And how do we do that? It's in that self-transformation journey. It's us. And how comfortable is that? Super comfortable. When we find kind of a little bit of that dark spot in ourselves, like, I thought I had that figured out, but it seems that not. But it's only through that transformational journey and accepting and being mindful of the things that we will find and resigning ourselves, understanding that it's part of us, that we'll be able to first be aware. Because knowledge, as we mentioned, is the first step. How would we change something if we don't know that we have something? There is no way. How will we find a solution if we don't know what the problem is? Right? And Haroldo brings another kind of flavor of it. Sometimes we get too stuck in questions that might not lead the best results. So sometimes we say, oh, I have this, like, yeah, of course, I might have done something in my past. Maybe I didn't do something right in my past. I keep on that question of when. When did I did something wrong that is now I'm trying to learn what is right. And we keep kind of investigating our past, other reincarnations. And maybe I was too bad. I was evil in maybe one or two incarnations, and now I deserve to suffer. So does that lead to something productive? No, right? What is a different question that it doesn't matter what happened in the past lives is, what is this trying to teach me? Right? Instead of, when did I make something bad that I need to pay? What is that situation is trying to teach me? Or maybe, why am I going through this challenge? That is part of those questions that are part, that can help us. And really, we can investigate. What can I do to change? To become better? Another way is when we educate ourselves, when we're going through our thought process, is that importance, that invitation that we identify ourselves with the divine thought. Emmanuel says, there is a market of ideas available for us in this world. A market of thoughts, a market of emotions available to us. And it's up to us. Which idea I'm going to buy or I'm going to let myself absorb. Because as we mentioned, the spirits are here. It can influence us. The world, media, television, there's a bunch of other things, and especially the moments that we are living right now, that are selling us things. And it's up to us to determine which things I'm going to let in, or which radio station I'm going to tune myself in. And the invitation is, can we tune ourselves to the gods, the God station, or the ideas that God can give us and how to overcome some of our barriers. But why? Why should we connect to God? Why is there invitation to connect to the divine thought? There's got to be a reason.
Because maybe we try to have a good thought. We have to keep going to do the best, to maybe to improve our action, our decision. That's why.
But why God? What does God have that no one else has? There's a specific invitation, the divine thought. So the divine thought is God. God has something in its thought that is good for us to connect to. What is that thing? What are some of the attributes of God? What's the most important attribute of God?
Love.
Love. Exactly. If we connect to infinite love, and also God has infinite wisdom. And all of us have that seed. Exactly. All of us have that seed that can connect to our God. That seed within our thoughts that connect to God. Arthur likes to say, there's no smarter choice than love. There's no higher wisdom than love. We will be able to do that every single time? Maybe not. But can we be aware? I tuned to not a good station. Too much, rock and roll. Not saying that rock and roll is not good. But yes, it's how are we adopting wisdom in our choices? The discernment, such an important virtue. If I connected to something, I have the power. I'm the solely one responsible and I have the power, the strength, and everything that's required to connect to that. Whatever, if that's good or that's bad. Right? And God, as I mentioned, is the creator. Thought is infinite wisdom and infinite love. There's no other or better connection to make than God. So we can have the best framework. We can have the best envelope for our ideas and for our emotions.
I just have been listening quite a few testimonies from people, even from Brazil, from here, from US, from different parts of the world. There is nobody escapes the rule, right?
No.
Either we go through love or we go through the pain.
Yep.
Right? It's up to each one individually to make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
I think at some point in life when a person cannot put up with the pain anymore, they will turn to something, to the divine.
Yeah.
Whichever name they call. You can
Whatever.
call not God, not Jesus, but they can call their own the name of their own beliefs, right? But that is not a way.
Yeah.
Because at some point, all of us will be tired of suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. And the title of that book, I am the way, the truth, and the life. There's no other way to reach our goals, to reach our end state as evolved spirits, if we don't go through Jesus that leads to God. And whatever that takes shape or form, if it's here, another religion, without religion, whatever it is, right? And here, It is the first chapter of the Thought in Life that calls the mirror of life. And Emmanuel says that the mind stands as the mirror of life in all places. So our mind and our thoughts is what we see, is what we have, right? That mirror, it stands in all places. We cannot hide ourselves. Sometimes we can put a little bit of masks here and there as we go through our journey, but that mirror is the reflection of who we are. And Saulo says, explains a little bit on, Emmanuel mentions that if the mind is that mirror, our heart is kind of the face of our reflection. It's kind of that mirror, the way, not the way that it's shown here, but that flat mirror that shows our true self. And our mind is kind of our intelligence, is kind of the ondulation. Is how is the intellect, our intelligence is that ondulation that form our own mind. And sometimes that trick us, and we have some curved images, and that sometimes derails us if we don't educate our intelligence, because we know that our evolution is about intellectual and moral. It needs to go together. And sometimes our intellectual deviates a little bit our moral. And it's within our heart that we'll show and practice all those virtues that we're asked to practice, like fraternity, like love, and so many others. Almost there. And he, in the text, Thought in Life, he continues that in its ascension from earth plane towards God, under the leadership of Christ, it may be compared to a rough diamond, excavated, it's talking about our mind, excavated from the dark interiors of earth, which under the guidance of the stone cutter advance toward the magnificence of life. So this is, are we all a little bit rough as we are born, right? Our thoughts are, and even if we study how the spirit starts in the mineral world, the vegetable world, and how we can progress, and how now as humans we are in that rough shape with all those opportunities to maybe make a round corner here, make a round corner there, and be. And that's kind of this deep invitation without losing our respect, our gratitude for this opportunity to make all that we can do to change a little bit. Joanna de Angelis says that the good man, thinking correctly as a consequence of his inner reality, progresses, adding strength to the structure itself. The creature of fragile moral constitution, due to its unfortunate mental constructions, gets involved in the webs of disturbing thoughts and goes on tumultuous, unhealthy states. So here is our own reality gives us that structure. However, sometimes we can get caught in some of those webs that are not good thinkings, good emotions, and we get carried away. It's okay sometimes to get caught on that web, as long as we become aware and we remove kind of that veil from ourselves to look at ourselves and get away of that. Because what happens, she's mentioned here, we go in that, who here can sometimes like, oh my God, this is a disaster. It's going to turn out the worst possible. And at least for myself, I can't think. Like I froze because I'm too entangled in that web, and I cannot get to positive, or my hope is kind of crushed. My hope disappears, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time to untangle myself and kind of see that light. But as this is an exercise, we start getting better and better, and and better. And again, thinking about those patterns. Because if I get caught in that web and I let myself in that tumultuous, unhealthy state, it's a pattern that I might have been doing for some other lives. And now it's an opportunity. Luis, let's untangle yourself, or how we can practice to get away of that, right? She continues, as a result, it is concluded that the spirit and not the body is weak or strong, according to the content of the thoughts it elaborates and which it delivers. Thought is strength. Therefore, it acts according to its own direction, intensity, and meaning. Again, look at how direct Joanna is. That is not the body, it's the spirit. It's our spirit that carries those strengths. It's the spirit that carry those patterns, those habits. It's the spirit that needs to be educated. By the love of mercy, God gives this body here as a mechanism so I can change my spirit. Right? So it's important that we cultivate this idea of progress and be encouraged to strive, and we will be able to achieve whatever success means to each one of us. Not the success of our work, our family, and all of the things that are required in this life. One component, good. It's part of the evolution of the mortal spirit. But what are the successes that I'm trying to strive and to achieve that goes beyond whatever Luis will be in the future, my future incarnations. So that kind of helps us to discover how happy we are, that we can be, and that become kind of a vital aspiration for us, isn't it? It's like, okay, was not able to do this, but there's hope, there's more. I will have more opportunities. And maybe, as Gabi says, I won't be able to achieve all the things. I won't be Jesus this life. But I will get, maybe, if I take half a step, it's less of a half a step that I'll have to take in another incarnation. Any progress is a good progress. Right? And it ends. Pure love is the Creator's reflection in all creators. So if the mind is our reflection, love is the Creator reflection in all of us. It goes both ways. We reflect, but also God, the Creator, reflects on us. And what does the Creator reflect on us? Love. There's no condemnation from God. Say, bad Luis, you didn't do what I asked you to do, right? It's important for us to recognize as sons of God, and to recognize that we do have that reflection. Even though sometimes we don't reflect that in ourselves, we do have the reflection of the Creators. So that's another call, an invitation for us to follow Christ as Anna said, as our model and guide, and gives us, and that's another important piece, we are the only one responsible for our evolution. The only one. The law of mercy is here and will benefit all of us as many opportunities and times as required. But Alito says that the best project, the best thing that we can do is to work in ourselves and take that responsibility and autonomy using Jesus' intelligence, kindness, and all the virtues that he demonstrated to make the transformation, and kind of surrender ourselves to take some action and to transform. That's it. Thank you. Any questions? No? Let's go to our final prayer then. So again, connected that we are with God, with Jesus, knowing that God, the Creator, and Jesus reflects love in all of us. God and Jesus do not in any time condemn us. And Jesus being our whole model and guide, let's be grateful for that law of divine mercy. Let's be grateful for this opportunity that we have to educate ourselves, to know ourselves, as St. Augustine mentioned in question 919, know thyself. So let us be encouraged to take that deep journey of transformation with self-love, with self-welcoming, self-acceptance, understanding that all, maybe the not so light spots in all of us, they are here and they are part of our spirit. And our spirit has the entire strength and all the capabilities to make the transformation. Let's be grateful again for this house, for the second home of love. Let's ask that the spiritual team continue helping each one of us and us as a group, enabling that the Spiritism doctrine continues to be this light, shining and helping all of us in our journey. Let's ask that we have another week of blessings, of serenity, patience, and above all, love. So be it.